I had been following an old forest road that's barely used anymore. At first, everything felt normal, but after a couple of hours, the terrain began to change, and the forest closed in more than I expected. At some point, I realized I hadn't seen the trail clearly for a while. I decided to go down a slope to try to get my bearings again, but the ground was slippery and full of roots. That's when I heard a loud noise behind me, something breaking branches. I turned around thinking it might be a large animal, but what I saw didn't fit that idea. It was a dark figure moving quickly between the trees, far too fast for its size. I didn't think, I just started walking faster. The noise came again, this time closer. It wasn't clear footsteps, more like the sound of the forest being pushed aside, branches shaking, leaves flying. Every time I looked back, I saw movement, large shadows crossing between the trunks. The slope grew steeper, and I almost fell a couple of times. At one point, I felt something pass very close to me, like something had crossed behind me at great speed. The air shifted. It was instant. I didn't see it clearly, just a dark mass moving through the trees. I reached a more open area and tried to orient myself. My heart was pounding, and I could barely breathe. I heard a low, short sound, not a scream, more like a warning. I looked toward a hillside and saw it clearly for the first time. It was standing higher up, watching me. It was enormous, covered in dark hair with very broad shoulders and long arms. It didn't look tired. I was. I backed away without turning my back. At that moment, it came down a bit, not running, but with an ease that made it clear I had no advantage there. I grabbed a stone from the ground and threw it without thinking. It fell short. It didn't react. It just stopped. I took that second and slipped between some fallen trees, almost crawling. I heard something moving above me, jumping logs, circling the area. I wasn't lost. It was cutting me off. I don't know how long I stayed there, crouched, not moving. Eventually, the noise began to fade away. I came out slowly, shaking, and kept heading downhill until I found the old road again. I didn't look back. I reached my car with weak legs and my head full of questions. I drove without stopping until I was far from that mountain. I don't know if it was following me, rushing me, or just moving through the terrain better than I ever could. All I know is that I've never felt so out of place as I did that day. And ever since then, every time I see a forest-covered slope, I can't help but wonder what else might be moving up there without us noticing. This happened while I was working temporarily in a fairly isolated mountain area. It wasn't a permanent job, just a few months, and I was almost always alone. The place was far from everything, surrounded by dense forest and steep slopes. At first, I didn't pay much attention to anything unusual. I thought it was just part of the environment. As the weeks went by, I started noticing that some things weren't where I had left them. Tools moved, marks around the area where I slept, but nothing too obvious. What really stood out was that it always happened at night. During the day, the place felt lifeless, but once it got dark, it felt different. One early morning, I woke up because I heard footsteps. They weren't fast or chaotic. They were slow, heavy, like something walking carefully. They didn't sound like boots or small animals. I stayed still, listening, trying to figure out where they were coming from. The steps stopped right outside. Then came the smell. That was what fully woke me up. It was strong, harsh, hard to breathe. I stayed there without moving, waiting for it to pass. I didn't hear breathing, but I felt the presence, as if something was standing very close, motionless, listening. When the sound returned, it was moving away. The footsteps slowly faded uphill. I waited a long time before going outside. Out there, I found the ground marked, the the mud pressed down as if something very heavy had passed through. The impressions were large, longer than my boot. They weren't clean, but they didn't look like animal tracks either. Days later, while checking a higher area, I saw it. It wasn't a long encounter. It was moving between trees in a strange way, like it wasn't in a hurry, but also didn't want to be seen. It was tall, with a broad back, and its body covered in hair. It didn't make any sound, no screams, no knocking. It just left. I stood there staring at the empty space, trying to understand what had just happened. I didn't feel fear in that moment. I felt confusion, a lot of it. That night, I didn't sleep. I heard movement in different spots, as if something was circling the area. The next morning, I found broken branches high up and marks on a tree trunk that hadn't been there before. I finished the job earlier than planned. I didn't give any explanations. When I left, I looked back at the forest from a distance and had the feeling that something was watching me go. I never went back to that place. Sometimes I think maybe it had always been there and I just started noticing it. Or maybe I was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't know. And that's what still stays with me the most. I don't usually write this kind of thing, but after reading several similar accounts, I thought maybe what happened to me wasn't so isolated. This took place in a mountain area where I used to go camping with a friend. It's not a well-known or marked place. In fact, most people don't even know there's an old trail that goes up that way. We arrived late that day. The sun was already going down when we set up camp. The forest was dense, with trees packed closely together and the ground covered in old leaves. From the beginning, I had a strange feeling, like the place didn't want us there. It wasn't fear, more like discomfort, like being in someone else's house without an invitation. While we were gathering firewood, we heard a sharp noise coming from higher up the slope. It sounded like something hitting a tree hard. My friend thought it was a falling branch, but it didn't sit right with me. The sound happened again, this time farther away, and then again, almost like it was answering itself. Neither of us said anything, but we looked at each other. Later, sitting by the fire, the atmosphere became very quiet. I don't remember hearing animals for hours. At one point, I felt like something was moving around us, but never close to the camp. It was as if it was walking in a wide circle, staying just out of reach. Every now and then we heard heavy steps on the leaves, but when we shined a light, there was nothing there. At one point, I got up to walk towards some nearby trees, and that's when I saw it. Not head-on, it was off to the side, between two trunks. It was tall, covered in dark hair, with long arms. It walked leaning forward, not hunched, but with its body angled ahead. I froze and didn't say a word. I didn't want to call my friend or make any noise. I didn't feel like it was dangerous, but I also felt like it didn't want to be seen. After a few seconds, it disappeared behind a rocky formation. I went back to the fire without saying anything. My friend asked if I was okay, and I just nodded. That night, we slept poorly. We heard noises in the distance, footsteps going up and down the slope, always outside the light. At no point did it come too close. The next morning, we found things out of place. A large log had been moved near the camp, and branches were stacked in a strange way, as if someone had placed them deliberately. They didn't look like natural falls. We left early. On the way back, neither of us talked about it. Only days later, when we were each at home, did we start mentioning it by message, carefully, without exaggeration. I don't know what we saw that night. I'm not saying it was what many people believe, but I also can't say it was something normal. I never went camping in that place again. Sometimes I think about it and wonder whether it was really watching us, or if we were just passing through a place that didn't belong to us. This happened several years ago in a mountain area I used to visit often because I liked walking far away from people. It wasn't a park or a tourist trail. It was one of those places where the forest feels older, heavier somehow. I always went alone, got there early, and left before dark because night falls fast up there. That day, I didn't plan to stay long. The weather felt off, low clouds, cold air even though it was summer. I walked for a couple of hours without running into anyone. The first thing that stood out was the silence. Not complete silence, but a strange one. No birds, no small movement sounds, just the wind in the trees and an occasional distant noise I couldn't really place. I kept going uphill until I reached a denser part of the forest. The ground was soft, with mud near a dry stream bed. That's when I noticed the marks. At first I didn't think much of them, figured they might be from a bear, but when I looked closer, I froze. They were large footprints, shaped like feet. Not perfect, but not misshapen either. You could tell there was weight behind them. They weren't old. While I was standing there, I started to notice a strong smell. I can't really describe it well. It wasn't a dead animal, and it wasn't garbage. It was something raw, heavy. It made me wrinkle my nose right away. I looked up and felt that strange sensation, like when someone is watching you and you just know it. It didn't take long before I saw it. It was higher up between the trees. It wasn't moving, just standing there. It was big, not movie monster big, but clearly taller and broader than any person I know. Its body looked covered in dark hair. I couldn't make out the face, but the head shape was clear. It didn't seem like it wanted to come closer. It didn't run either. It was just watching. After a moment, it took a couple of steps, slow and solid. It didn't make noise when it moved, or at least not the kind of noise you'd expect from something that size. Then it disappeared into the trees, like the forest swallowed it. I stood there for several minutes without moving. The smell was still in the air, the silence too. I didn't hear anything else, but the feeling didn't go away. I decided to head back the way I came. As I walked downhill, I had the sense that something was moving alongside me, keeping its distance. I didn't see it again, but I felt it. By the time I reached my car, I was exhausted, more mentally than physically. I didn't check anything, didn't look back. I started the engine and left. I've never told this in person, not because I was scared, but because I wouldn't know how to explain it properly. I don't know exactly what I saw. I only know it didn't look like anything I'd seen before, and that place, since that day, it's never felt empty to me again.